I've always thought my solo living situation was pretty comfortable. Quiet, no disturbances, coming home after work and closing the door behind me, everything settles into peace. Until that night, when I received a package that shouldn't have been mine. I live alone in an apartment building over 20 stories tall on the 17th floor. I haven't lived here long, but I really like the quiet. Aside from occasionally hearing a neighbor's door slam late at night, there's basically nothing unusual. That day, I worked until almost 8 p.m. The sky was already dark as I dragged my tired legs into the building. The elevator was empty except for me, the mirrored walls reflecting my exhausted appearance, messy hair, dark circles under my eyes, and a crumpled jacket. When the doors opened, I froze. The hallway light was dim, casting a yellowish glow. Right in front of my door sat a package that wasn't too strange. I sometimes have deliveries left at my door. The eerie part was, there was no shipping label, no sender information, no identifying marks at all. Just a plain, bare cardboard box. I frowned, initially thinking the delivery person had just been lazy, but I'd never actually seen that happen before. The packaging was ordinary, the common brown cardboard type, sealed with packing tape. It looked untouched. I picked it up and gave it a gentle shake. There was something inside, but it wasn't heavy. I hadn't ordered anything. For a moment, I hesitated, but I ended up bringing it inside. Once in, I placed the package on the coffee table and changed into sleepers. The lamp by the sofa cast a weak light, making the shadows in the living room seem deeper. I stood in front of the coffee table, staring at the box. For some reason, I felt uneasy, as if my body knew something was wrong before my mind had caught up. Probably a misdelivery, I muttered to myself. But my name and floor number were correct. After a few minutes of hesitation, I took out a utility knife and sliced through the tape. Inside was a layer of bubble wrap. Lifting it away, I froze. Inside was a small video camera, the kind that operates on its own power, a handheld model for recording. Its casing was black metal, and it looked fairly new. Stuck to the bottom of the camera was a small note with a neatly written sentence. Please be sure to check the most recent recording. My whole body went rigid. This didn't feel like a prank. It didn't feel like an advertisement either. It felt more like someone wanted me to see something. I hesitated for a long time, but curiosity eventually overpowered my unease. I pressed play. The screen flickered, then lit up. In that moment, I almost dropped the camera. The place in the video was my home. The footage started at my front door. The timestamp read, today 1903. I was still at the office then, just getting ready to leave. The camera seemed to be placed on the floor, pointing at my door. After a moment, the image shook, as if someone picked up the camera, then gently panned it from the door to the shoe cabinet, and then towards the living room. I wasn't home at that time, but the camera had entered my home. I stared at the screen, my heartbeat growing heavy and loud. I was certain I'd locked the door when I left, and my lock is a smart fingerprint lock, no fingerprint, no entry. But the footage clearly showed someone entering. The view moved steadily from the entryway into the living room, then stopped in front of the sofa, as if someone had sat down. The camera slowly panned across the dark room. The coffee table, the sofa, the floor lamp, the curtains. Every corner was captured clearly. There was no sound, but I could distinctly feel that a stranger had walked into my home while I was away. My throat felt tight, a cold sweat breaking out on my back. I kept watching, unable to stop myself from glancing back at my own living room, confirming no one was there now. The video continued. The screen went black for a second, as if the camera was being moved. Next, it was filming my bedroom. The lens approached the wardrobe, gently pushed the door open, revealing the clothes inside. Then the camera tilted slowly upward, as if checking to see if anyone was hiding inside. The movement was too practiced. It was like searching for something. Next, the camera focused on my bookshelf, the large window, under the bed. Every place I typically go after getting home from work was filmed meticulously. A chill settled in the pit of my stomach. Only one thought echoed in my mind. This person knows my habits, because the things they filmed are the places I always check first. The video timestamp gradually approached 2010. That was exactly when I was leaving work and getting into the elevator. The screen went black again momentarily. The next moment, it lit up. A wide shot of my living room. The camera seemed to have been placed in a high corner. The timestamp read, 2022, the moment I entered my apartment. Sure enough, in the next second, my figure appeared on screen. I watched my video self turn on the light, put the package down, then walk into the bedroom to change clothes. Watching this, my whole body stiffened. Someone had placed this camera in my home before I returned, then left quietly. The lens recorded me coming home, and I had no idea. I instinctively reached for my phone to call the police, but hesitated. What if I called now, and that person was still nearby? I kept watching. The next part of the video showed everything that had just happened. Me sitting on the sofa, opening the package, picking up the camera, watching myself on the screen, seeing my every move from moments ago, felt like a bucket of ice water had been dumped over my heart, until the timestamp on the video jumped into the future. The screen time showed 2031, but the camera in my hand showed 2028. In the video, I was sitting on the sofa, just as I was now, except something happened to that version of me after this point. That me was watching the camera's contents. The footage was identical to what I was seeing now. Then, at 20 hours 31 minutes and 47 seconds, a moving shadow appeared in the video, right behind me, near the bedroom door. The camera image shook slightly, the angle slowly turning towards the bedroom. I held my breath. Then I saw it. The wardrobe door in the bedroom was pushed open gently. A person dressed in black clothes emerged. They were crouched over, moving slowly, holding a long knife that gleamed in the light. Then they started walking towards where I was sitting. Their steps drew closer, bit by bit. No sound, just the image of me on screen, completely unaware. My heart leaped into my throat. I turned my head stiffly and looked towards my own bedroom. The wardrobe door was closed. But I couldn't be sure. My palms were sweaty. I could barely hold the camera. I looked back at the screen. In the video, the person was now less than 2 meters behind me, and the real me was sitting in the exact same spot. I was on the verge of breaking down. I forced myself to calm down, slowly stood up, held my breath, not making a sound. My heart hammered wildly in my chest. Clutching the camera, I inched my way towards the front door. Every step was cautious, as if afraid to disturb something. As I neared the door, I couldn't help but glance at the screen one more time in the video. The future me had also reached the door, but he didn't escape because, just as he turned to open the door, a hand reached into the frame from off-screen and grabbed his shoulder. The image shook violently, then went black. The video ended there, froze completely, because right at that moment, I really did hear soft footsteps behind me. Very soft, like bare feet on the floor, getting closer, step by step. I didn't dare turn around, but I knew he was right behind me. Then an extremely low voice, seeming to drill directly into my brain, sounded in the frozen air, carrying a cold, undeniable tone. Don't look back, run. I've always considered myself a very ordinary person. An ordinary job, an ordinary social circle, an ordinary family background. I live in an utterly commonplace apartment. The old elevator occasionally makes clanking metal sounds. The hallway light sometimes flickers a couple of times before staying on. The neighbor next door occasionally drags furniture loudly in the middle of the night, as if deliberately trying to keep me awake. Recording saved. I frowned. I never record in my sleep, nor do I have a habit of recording my sleep talk. The recording file was a full 37 minutes long. I opened it. For the first dozen seconds or so, there was just the sound of my normal breathing, occasionally the rustle of the sheets as I turned over. I didn't think much of it, but around the 8-minute mark of the recording, in that moment, it felt like every cell in my body was pricked by an ice needle simultaneously. In the recording, besides the sound of my steady breathing, there was a second person's voice, not the kind of auditory hallucination, nor noise mistakenly picked up by the phone. It was a low, hoarse voice, yet unnervingly close. He was speaking, and the first thing he said made my blood run cold. "You're sleeping so soundly." I sat on the bed, not daring to breathe. I listened to it several times, confirming it wasn't my voice, not the neighbor's voice, nor resonance from a TV through the wall. That voice genuinely came from inside my bedroom. The recording continued. The person was laughing softly, with a kind of deeply unsettling satisfaction. With every chuckle, my back tingled with dread. Then he spoke again. "You know I'm here, right?" I kept backing away until my back was against the cold wall. I remembered, last night before sleeping, I had clearly checked all the doors and windows. The door locks, the window locks, all were shut tight. How could there possibly be another person in the room? The me in the recording kept sleeping, breathing still quiet, even. But the person kept talking. "Last night, you didn't hear me standing by your bed. Or are you just used to it by now?" A few seconds of silence followed. But in that silence, you could hear an extremely faint but real sound: footsteps. Light, slow, step by step, coming in from my bedroom door. Then stopping by the bedside, I almost vomited. It was a primal, instinctual fear. Fighting the trembling in my hands, I dragged the recording further ahead. This person stood by the bed, breathing lightly. Then he said something that made me stop breathing. "You're so well behaved. You don't even wake up from your dreams." I almost immediately rushed to the bedroom door, turned on all the lights, and checked every room. No one. The sofa was untouched, the kitchen window was locked, the bathroom was clean, the balcony had no footprints. It was as if nothing had happened. I tried to comfort myself. Maybe it was just a phone glitch. Maybe the recording picked up something by mistake. Maybe it was an illusion caused by work exhaustion. But no matter how I tried to explain it away, the fact of last night remained. I was indeed sleeping soundly in my bed, and the person in the recording was indeed standing by my bedside. I sat in the living room all day, unable to even drink water. Around 11 p.m., I gathered my courage and went back to the bedroom. But I didn't sleep. Instead, I placed my phone on the nightstand and turned the recording function on again. I wanted to prove that it was all just a coincidence, some mistakenly captured noise. That night, I stayed awake almost until 3 a.m. I still fell asleep. When I woke up again, it was already light outside. On the phone screen, the notification appeared again. Recording saved 41 minutes. My hand started to shake. I opened it. The first 20 minutes were normal. Then that voice appeared again. Only, this time, he wasn't standing by the bed anymore. He was right beside me from the very start of the recording. He was breathing lightly, but very clearly. Then, he said, "Last night, why didn't you sleep?" The tone was as if he was speaking to me face to face. I was instantly stunned. Did he know I was awake? Did he know I was pretending to sleep? I kept listening. The me in the recording turned over lightly, the mattress making a faint creaking sound. The person laughed again. He said, "Don't worry, I won't hurt you at least." Not yet. In that moment, I was so shocked I dropped my phone. I hurriedly picked it up, only to find a new segment of sound in the recording. "You look very curious. Do you want to know who I am?" The voice carried a teasing, patient quality. "Then I'll tell you." I held my breath. Every word felt heavy, slamming into my mind. "I've always been by your side. For longer than you can imagine." Then he said something that made my blood run cold. "Actually, you've heard me during the day too. You just thought it was your own voice." I felt utterly chilled. What did he mean, thought it was your own voice? When had my voice been imitated by him? In which sentence? In which scenario? In which instant? I felt a primal, profound fear, the kind of fear that comes from thinking you're alone, but someone has always been right next to you. Suddenly, a segment of the recording played that I couldn't comprehend at all, yet was so clear it was maddening. He was imitating me, word for word, pace, tone, breathing, coughing, everything, exactly like me. As if I were talking to myself. What he said made my heart tremble with each word. "I can become you. I can talk like you. I can walk like you. I can sleep like you. I can even leave your life for you." I nearly threw my phone. It wasn't simple imitation. It was perfect replication. I didn't know how such a thing was possible. Maybe it's paranoia, auditory hallucinations, mental stress, a phone malfunction. I tried hard to think of any explanation, but none could account for that perfectly copied voice. The recording continued. 2 seconds of silence, then, "Tonight, I'll let you see me." My heart felt like it was gripped by a cold hand. In the next instant, a strange sound came from the recording. An extremely faint but real sound of a door closing. My bedroom door, I remembered clearly. Before I started recording last night, I had definitely closed the door shut. But in the recording, that door was opened and closed from the inside at some point during the night. Next, there was a silence lasting more than 10 seconds. A person stood by my bed, doing nothing, just breathing quietly. Then he said softly, "You should come home early. I've been waiting for you for a long time." The recording ended there. I sat on the edge of the bed, my whole body as cold as if soaked in ice water. Right then, my phone screen lit up. Not a notification, but a new message. The sender was an unknown number. The content was just one sentence. "I'm here, where are you?" I almost threw my phone. Right then, a soft knocking sound suddenly came from outside my apartment door. Knock, knock, knock. The knocks were light, polite, like a familiar person waiting for me to open the door. I didn't dare move. The knocking stopped for a few seconds. Then, a low, hoarse, yet utterly familiar voice came through the crack under the door. It was the person from the recording. "I know you're listening. Open the door. I want to see this new body." I've always thought that what's truly terrifying isn't seeing something, but hearing something. Especially when you leave alone. What happened that night made me understand. There are some sounds you should never hear late at night, and some presences you should never try to uncover. I went to bed very late that day. After working overtime and taking a shower, it was almost 1 a.m. by the time I got into bed. I live in a small apartment with a simple layout. The entryway leads to the kitchen, the living room is next to the kitchen, and further in is the bedroom. It's usually quite quiet, and the neighbors aren't noisy either. One day, around 3 a.m., I woke up groggy. The room was pitch black, the heavy curtains blocking all outside light. Not even moonlight could seep in. I didn't know why I woke up, only that my throat was parched and a strange chill enveloped me. Just as I was about to get up to get water, I heard the sound. A faint, hollow, echoing sound coming from the kitchen. It sounded like a drawer being pulled open and then shut. I froze, most of my sleepiness instantly vanishing. My kitchen has many drawers, holding knives, spoons, spice jars. Their slides are old, making a distinct creak of metal grinding against wood when opened. I recognized that sound. But the problem was, I live alone, it's 3 a.m. All the lights are off, all the doors are locked. There shouldn't be anyone in the kitchen. I sat in bed, my heartbeat growing heavier and louder, pounding against my chest, unnervingly clear in the silent room. I told myself it might be a dream, or auditory hallucinations, but then the sound came again. This was the sound of a cabinet door being gently opened and closed. The sound was very faint, definitely not a mouse or the wind. I stared at the pitch-black area beyond my bedroom door, as if it were a bottomless abyss. My breathing grew tight, my lungs feeling constricted. Through the thin door panel, I could clearly, distinctly sense something was moving in the kitchen, groping around. Calm down. Maybe I misheard, or it's from upstairs, I said to myself. Reason told me the source of the sound was too close, as if it were right in my own kitchen. I sat on the edge of the bed, pressing my ear against the cold wall, straining to catch any slight noise. Then a small clattering sound came from the kitchen, as if someone had accidentally knocked over a spice bottle or something similar. In that moment, all the hair on my body stood on end, a chill shooting from the soles of my feet to the top of my head. I fumbled for my phone on the nightstand. The screen light stung my slightly squinting eyes. I checked the time. 3:12. I didn't dare turn on the flashlight. That bright light would completely dispel the darkness, but it might also illuminate things I absolutely did not want to see. The unknown darkness sometimes allows for a sliver of hope that clear horror does not. I threw off the covers and cautiously got out of bed. As my foot hovered in the air, an absurd and terrifying thought suddenly invaded my mind. What if there's something under the bed? Is it looking up at the bed frame, or at my hovering foot? The thought almost choked me with fear. I hurriedly placed my foot on the floor. The wooden floorboard let out a slight creak. I immediately stopped all movement, held my breath, terrified of revealing my presence. The moment I stopped, the sounds in the kitchen also ceased abruptly. For an instant, complete silence descended. Whatever was in the kitchen had heard the slight noise I made. I stood by the bedroom door, motionless, like a cold statue. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my trembling body, and gently pressed my ear against the cold door panel. The window pane behind me suddenly felt icy, the cold seeping through the walls into my bones. I put down my phone, slowly pressed my body against the wall, trying to melt into the shadows, making no sound. I could feel something was right outside the door. Close, so close. He was listening, or rather, it was listening for any sign of me. In that instant, my heart felt like it would leap out of my throat. I was even afraid its violent beating would penetrate the door and be heard by the thing outside. Only one frantic thought circled in my mind. It's out there. It's out there. I slowly backed away, retreating to the bed, trying not to let the bed make a sound. Every step felt like walking on knife blades. Another faint sound came from outside Lotchi. It sounded like something was slowly rubbing against my bedroom door panel, sliding down from the lock position. I grew so cold I almost lost all feeling. Fear wrapped around my limbs like vines. It was looking for a way in. I picked up my phone, thinking again about calling the police. But I didn't dare unlock the screen, because the sudden light would definitely let the thing outside know I was awake, and right behind the door. I could only feel for the side button, turning the screen brightness to its lowest. My fingers trembled so much I could barely hold the phone, let alone press the numbers accurately. With shaking hands, I opened the emergency call interface, my finger hovering over the dial button. Suddenly, a soft click came from outside. I didn't dare move. I hardly dared breathe, the burning pain in my lungs growing stronger. About 10 long seconds passed. It grew quiet outside. The apartment's entryway is next to the kitchen. To rush out from the bedroom, I'd have to pass the kitchen doorway. That meant I would most likely encounter that thing head-on. I tried hard to calm myself down. Rather than sitting here letting my imagination run wild, I should rush out and see what's going on, not. I sprang up from the bed, fear overwhelming caution. I rushed to the door, twisted the bedroom door lock, and yanked the door wide open. The living room and kitchen were pitch black, empty. The expected attack didn't come. Cold air rushed over me, carrying a hint of an indescribable, faint smell of old dust. I stood frozen, my heart still racing wildly. I fumbled for the living room light switch on the wall. The ceiling light flickered on, its pale light instantly banishing the darkness. The living room was perfectly normal: sofa, coffee table, TV, as if nothing had happened. Cautiously, heart still in my throat, I walked towards the kitchen. In the kitchen, there were a few faint, watery-looking marks on the floor, but on closer inspection, they might just have been shadows. I quickly checked all the doors and windows. The main door was securely locked from the inside. The chain lock was fastened. The kitchen has no window. The latch on the living room window was firmly closed. No physical signs of a break-in. Then, what were those sounds earlier? Could it all have been my imagination? After that night, I could hardly sleep. But the terrifying part was, the sounds didn't disappear. For the next few nights, every time it approached 3 a.m., I could always hear strange sounds in the living room. It didn't enter the kitchen anymore, just lingered in the living room. Slowly, rhythmically, as if patrolling its territory. Sometimes I could still hear that intermittent, rustling breath through the bedroom door, as if listening, or waiting. I'd had enough of this intangible torment. Fear gradually gave way to a desperate anger and a need to investigate. I was going to see what was in my house. Another early morning, as the clock hands neared 3, I was prepared. I quietly moved to the bedroom door, gripping a high-power flashlight tightly. I didn't turn on the lights, nor did I press my ear to the door as usual. I just waited silently, breathing as lightly as possible. It was here. I took a deep breath, suppressing the heart that felt ready to burst from my throat. Just as the footsteps approached the bedroom door again, almost stopping right opposite it, I violently twisted the door lock, pulled the door open with all my strength, and simultaneously raised the flashlight, pointing it towards where the footsteps last came from, and pressed the switch. The blinding white light sliced through the living room's darkness like a sword. As the beam swept across, I saw it. At the junction of the kitchen and living room, a white figure froze, then turned towards me with incredible speed. It was no person at all. It was like it was draped in a giant, stained white sheet, hanging emptily in the air half a foot off the ground. Where the face on the sheet should be, there were only 2 bottomless black holes, thick like tar, with no reflection, only pure, light-absorbing nothingness. It had no feet. Its lower body was blurred like smoke. The moment the flashlight beam enveloped it, those 2 black holes seemed to look at me. An indescribable coldness and malice hit me like a physical force, almost suffocating me. Then, right before my eyes, without any warning movement, the white figure flickered violently, like a TV with bad reception, and then, in an instant, vanished, completely, without a trace, as if it had never existed. Only the flashlight beam remained, shining uselessly on the empty wall. I stood rigid in the doorway, my whole body icy cold. The heavy flashlight clattered to the floor, rolling away, its beam pointing crookedly at the ceiling. I didn't pick it up. Only now did the immense terror hit me like a tidal wave, drowning all the courage I'd mustered before I saw it. I saw that thing that shouldn't exist in this world. My memory of how I spent the rest of that night in utter terror is blurry. I only remember huddling in the brightest corner of the living room, with all the lights on, until daybreak. The next morning, I contacted the rental agent and a moving company. I practically fled that apartment and never went back. Even now, I sometimes wake up suddenly in the deep night, thinking I hear those sticky footsteps and that eerie breathing again.